we're diving deep into the intriguing story of the Philistines, Israel's greatest biblical rivals. Who were these people that played such a prominent role in the Old Testament? Where did they come from? And perhaps the most pressing question of all, what happened to them? From their mysterious origins as part of the Sea Peoples to their rise as a powerful force in the ancient Near East, the Philistines were more than just adversaries of Israel. They were a complex civilization with a rich culture, advanced technology, and a legacy that has echoed through history. Their story is not just about battles and rivalries. It's about migration, adaptation, and ultimately, their disappearance from history. If you've ever wondered about the biblical accounts of Samson, Saul, and David battling the Philistines, or been curious about the historical truth behind this enigmatic group, then this video is for you. Together, we'll explore how the Philistines shaped ancient history, their cultural and religious practices, and the mysteries that still surround their ultimate fate. Before we get started, take a moment to support our channel. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. If you enjoy what you're about to learn, give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comment section. We love hearing from you. Lastly, share this video with your church group, family, and friends so we can all grow in knowledge and faith together. Let's uncover the incredible story of the Philistines. The Philistines are often portrayed as one of Israel's most formidable foes in the Bible, particularly during the eras of the Judges and the United Monarchy. They are remembered as relentless adversaries, equipped with military advantages that often posed a significant threat to the Israelites. Yet, their story extends far beyond their enmity with Israel. It includes their enigmatic origins, their role in the broader historical landscape of ancient Canaan, and the enduring questions about their legacy and identity. Who were the Philistines, really? Do any traces of this ancient people remain today? And what ultimately happened to these biblical rivals? These are the questions we aim to unravel in this exploration. Historically, the Philistines were a dominant force in the southwestern region of ancient Canaan, in what later became known as Palestine. Their influence was concentrated in the Pentapolis, a confederation of 5 powerful city-states: Gaza, Ashdod, Ashkelon, Gath, and Ekron. These cities were not only centers of governance, but also hubs of military coordination and cultural development, enabling the Philistines to launch organized campaigns and defend against external threats. To truly understand the Philistines, we must delve into their origins, a topic that has puzzled historians and archaeologists for centuries. Their arrival in Canaan marked a significant chapter in the history of the ancient Near East. The Philistines are widely associated with the Sea Peoples, a mysterious coalition of migrating populations who swept across the eastern Mediterranean during the late Bronze Age, leaving destruction and upheaval in their wake. The term Philistines appears in various historical records, including Hebrew scriptures where they are called Plishtim, as well as in Egyptian and Assyrian sources. In the Hebrew Bible, this term is tied to the region of Philistia, from which the name Palestine is derived. Linguistic evidence suggests that their name lacks Indo-European roots, pointing to an origin outside the Semitic cultural sphere of Canaan and Israel. Biblical and archaeological evidence links the Philistines to Kaftor, widely identified as the island of Crete. This connection is reinforced by references to Kittim, a term believed to denote Cretans. Texts in Jeremiah and Amos hint at this Cretan origin, and archaeological findings, such as Philistine pottery with distinct Mycenaean and Cypriot styles, further tie them to the Aegean world, home to the Mycenaean and Minoan civilizations during the Bronze Age. Egyptian accounts from the reign of Ramesses III around 1188 BC place the Philistines among the Sea Peoples. These records describe a series of migrations and invasions by these groups, which destabilized major civilizations, including the Hittite Empire and city-states in Syria. The Sea Peoples also clashed with Egypt, culminating in a decisive confrontation during the reign of Ramesses III. While the Egyptians claimed victory and repelled many of these groups, others, like the Philistines, were allowed to settle along the coast of Canaan under Egyptian oversight. Contrary to the notion of a large-scale invasion, the Philistine migration to Canaan appears to have been a gradual process of settlement and assimilation. Initially establishing themselves along the coastal plain, they integrated with the local Canaanite population, blending their Aegean cultural heritage with the traditions of their new home. This fusion of cultures enriched the Philistines' identity, resulting in a unique blend of Canaanite religious practices, linguistic influences, and material culture. The Bible also mentions the Philistines in earlier narratives, such as those involving Abraham and Isaac, who interacted with Abimelech, king of Gerar. While some scholars view these accounts as anachronistic, they suggest that groups related to the Philistines may have had a presence in Canaan long before the Sea People's migration. There is evidence to support the theory that Aegean merchants and settlers established trade posts in the region, laying the groundwork for later Philistine occupation. The Philistines' culture was remarkably sophisticated, characterized by advanced political organization, innovative religious practices, and distinctive material production. They adapted quickly to their environment, adopting and modifying elements of Canaanite and Egyptian traditions. This adaptability and cultural fusion made them one of the most intriguing and enigmatic peoples of the ancient Near East. The heart of Philistine political power lay in their Pentapolis. Each of the 5 city-states maintained a degree of autonomy while working together to address common challenges. These cities became centers of economic activity, religious worship, and military strategy, enabling the Philistines to exert significant influence over the region. However, their centralized system also made them a prominent target for rival powers, including Israel. The enduring legacy of the Philistines continues to captivate scholars and enthusiasts alike. Their story is not merely one of conflict with Israel, but also one of migration, cultural transformation, and adaptation. The mystery of their origins, their rise to prominence, and their eventual decline leaves us pondering. Who were the Philistines? And what can we learn from their remarkable journey? Governed by a council of lords who held both civil and military authority, the Philistine leadership structure was uniquely effective and strategic. Each of these 5 rulers was responsible for governing their respective city-states and surrounding villages. Together, they formed a council to decide on matters of mutual interest, such as military strategy and regional governance. This system of centralized cooperation provided the Philistines with a significant organizational advantage over their neighbors, particularly the Israelites, whose tribal system was far less centralized. The lords wielded authority to summon their people for war, make critical military decisions, and perform religious rites, including sacrifices to their gods on behalf of their communities. Despite the autonomy of each city-state, the Philistine lords demonstrated remarkable unity during times of conflict or external threats. This ability to consolidate their forces allowed them to strengthen their defenses and assert dominance in the region, extending their influence and power. The Philistine Pentapolis, Gaza, Ashdod, Ashkelon, Gath, and Ekron, was a model of strategic cooperation that fortified their military and political presence in ancient Canaan. One of the enduring mysteries of the Philistines is their language. Despite their significant historical footprint, no written texts directly attributed to the Philistines have been discovered. Scholars speculate that upon their arrival in Canaan, they adopted the local Semitic language to facilitate communication and integration with the indigenous Canaanite population. However, it is likely that elements of their original language persisted, blending with the linguistic environment of the region. By the post-exilic period, their mixed descendants spoke a dialect akin to Aramaic, as noted in Nehemiah 13, verse 24. The religion of the Philistines, while not entirely understood, reveals a fascinating aspect of their culture. Biblical and archaeological sources indicate that they integrated elements of Canaanite religion into their practices. Prominent deities in the Philistine pantheon included Dagon, Ashtoreth, and Baal-zebub, each associated with specific cities and worshipped in grand temples. For instance, Dagon was revered in temples located in Gaza and Ashdod, while Ashtoreth was venerated in Ashkelon and Beth-shan. Baal-zebub, another significant deity, was worshipped in Ekron. The Philistines were also renowned for their divination practices, with priests and soothsayers playing pivotal roles in both civil and military decisions. Their reliance on religious guidance is evident in accounts such as the return of the Ark of the Covenant in 1 Samuel 6, where rituals and offerings were used to appease divine wrath. Philistine religious practices extended to the battlefield, where they carried portable images of their gods to inspire and protect their warriors. This practice, documented in 2 Samuel 5 verse 21, underscores the deep connection between their religious beliefs and their military endeavors. Sacrifices and other rituals were integral to their culture, with priests and diviners conducting ceremonies to seek divine favor, especially during crises such as plagues or wars. The material culture of the Philistines provides valuable insights into their identity. Philistine pottery, renowned for its distinctive designs, stands out with its spiral decorations, bird motifs, and geometric patterns in red and black tones. These artifacts reflect a blend of Aegean and local influences, showcasing the Philistines' ability to integrate and innovate. Egyptian iconography, such as the depictions at Medinet Habu, illustrates the Philistines wearing feathered helmets and Aegean-style attire, including short kilts. They were armed with spears, long swords, and circular shields, further emphasizing their military sophistication. Notably, the Philistines monopolized iron smelting technology for a time, prohibiting the Israelites from employing blacksmiths and thus maintaining a strategic edge in weapon production. The history of the Philistines is intrinsically linked to that of the Israelites. From the earliest interactions during the time of the patriarchs Abraham and Isaac, who encountered Philistine leaders like Abimelech and Gerar, to the intense confrontations during the Judges period, their relationship shaped the biblical narrative. While early mentions of the Philistines in the Bible may be anachronistic, they hint at the presence of Aegean groups in Canaan long before the Philistines' rise to power. During the era of the Judges, hostilities between Israel and the Philistines intensified. Figures like Shamgar, who delivered Israel from Philistine oppression, and Samson, whose exploits against the Philistines became legendary, symbolized this period of conflict. Samson's dramatic clashes, his betrayal by Delilah, and his final act of bringing down the Temple of Dagon in Gaza highlight the animosity and cultural tension between the two peoples. The Philistines reached the height of their power during the early monarchy in Israel. Their capture of the Ark of the Covenant and the destruction of the sanctuary at Shiloh dealt a devastating blow to the Israelites, emphasizing the need for stronger leadership. This crisis ultimately led to the anointing of Saul as Israel's first king. Saul's reign was marked by repeated battles with the Philistines, including the pivotal conflict at Michmash, where Israel achieved a temporary victory, and the famous showdown at Ephsdammim, where David defeated Goliath in a symbolic triumph of faith over might. The relationship between David and the Philistines further illustrates the complexity of their interactions. Despite his heroic victory over Goliath, David later sought refuge among the Philistines, becoming a vassal of Achish, the king of Gath. This paradoxical alliance underscores the intricate and multifaceted nature of the Philistines' role in the history of Israel and the broader ancient Near East. David's role in the history of the Philistines is both complex and pivotal. Emerging as a paradoxical figure who was once a vassal to the Philistines, yet later became their conqueror, David's journey encapsulates the shifting dynamics of power in ancient Canaan. Initially aligned with the Philistine king Achish of Gath to escape Saul's wrath, David later became the instrument of their downfall. The death of King Saul and his sons at the Battle of Mount Gilboa marked a turning point. Saul's defeat, a monumental victory for the Philistines, paved the way for David to ascend to the throne of a unified Israel. As king, David launched a series of military campaigns aimed at consolidating Israel's borders and neutralizing threats. Among his most notable achievements was the systematic dismantling of Philistine power. Under David's leadership, Israel expanded its territory, imposed hegemony over Philistia, and dismantled the infrastructure that had made the Philistines a formidable military force. This marked the beginning of the Philistines' decline as a dominant regional power. Philistia's continued influence during the divided monarchy. Despite David's decisive victories, the Philistines were not entirely eradicated. They retained a degree of autonomy, continuing to play a role in the geopolitics of the region. During the period of the divided monarchy, Philistine cities frequently aligned themselves with larger empires or capitalized on moments of instability in Israel and Judah. For instance, Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, received tributes from the Philistines, reflecting their subjugation during periods of Israelite strength. However, this dynamic shifted during weaker reigns, such as that of Jehoshaphat's son Jehoram, when Philistine invasions destabilized the southern kingdom. These episodes underscore the Philistines' enduring resilience and strategic opportunism. Although weakened militarily, their cities remained important players in regional conflicts, often exploiting divisions within Israel and Judah or aligning with ascendant powers to safeguard their interests. Prophetic judgments and the decline of Philistine power. Throughout the biblical narrative, the Philistines hold a symbolic place as adversaries of Israel. Hebrew prophets frequently pronounced judgments against them, portraying their eventual destruction as part of God's divine plan. Prophets such as Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Amos, Zephaniah, and Zechariah forewarned the downfall of Philistine cities, linking their fate to divine retribution for their oppression of Israel. Jeremiah explicitly described the conquest of Philistine cities by Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, as the fulfillment of these prophecies. These pronouncements not only reflected historical events, but also reinforced the Philistines' role as emblematic foes in Israel's narrative, whose destruction symbolized the triumph of God's justice over Israel's enemies. The role of external empires in the decline of the Philistines. The Philistines' decline as a distinct political and cultural entity was not solely the result of Israelite conquests, but was significantly accelerated by the rise of powerful empires in the ancient Near East. The Assyrian Empire, under rulers like Tiglath-Pileser III, Sargon II, and Sennacherib, imposed heavy tributes and direct control over the Philistine cities. While the Philistines attempted to resist, often seeking alliances with Egypt and other kingdoms, repeated defeats depleted their resources and undermined their autonomy. For instance, Sargon II turned Ashdod into an Assyrian province following a rebellion, while Sennacherib ensured that Philistine cities remained under strict oversight, with heavy taxation and constant surveillance. This period of Assyrian dominance disrupted the Philistines' political structures, integrating them into the administrative framework of the empire and diminishing their cultural distinctiveness. The Babylonian and Persian periods, assimilation and displacement. The fall of the Assyrian Empire brought the Babylonians to power, further eroding Philistine autonomy. Nebuchadnezzar II conducted aggressive campaigns against Philistine cities such as Ashkelon and Gaza, deporting significant portions of their populations. These deportations scattered the Philistines across the Babylonian Empire, fracturing their communities and weakening their identity as a cohesive people. With the rise of the Persian Empire under Cyrus the Great, a more decentralized administrative approach allowed for some degree of local autonomy. However, by this time, the Philistines had already undergone significant cultural assimilation. They were increasingly absorbed into the surrounding populations, including the Canaanites and Jews. Persian rule facilitated the integration of diverse groups within Philistia, further diluting the distinctiveness of Philistine culture and identity. The Hellenistic era, the final dissolution of Philistine identity. The conquests of Alexander the Great and the subsequent spread of Hellenistic culture marked the final chapter in the story of the Philistines. The introduction of Greek customs, language, and governance transformed the cultural landscape of the ancient Near East, accelerating the assimilation of remaining Philistine communities. By this period, the once powerful Philistines had been fully integrated into the broader fabric of the region, their distinct identity effectively erased. Conclusion: the legacy of the Philistines. The Philistines' rise and fall reflect the complexities of ancient Near Eastern history. From their origins as a dominant force in the coastal plains of Canaan to their eventual assimilation into larger empires, their story is one of resilience, adaptation, and ultimate decline. Although their cultural identity has faded, the Philistines remain an enduring symbol in biblical and historical narratives, representing the intricate interplay of power, faith, and survival in the ancient world. The gradual assimilation of the Philistine population was deeply influenced by the transformation of their key cities, such as Gaza and Ashdod, into multicultural hubs. These cities became melting pots where diverse populations coexisted, blending Philistine traditions with Greek, Canaanite, and other regional influences. Over time, the distinct Philistine identity was absorbed into a cosmopolitan culture that reflected the priorities of new urban centers, heavily shaped by Hellenistic elements and the broader political and cultural forces of the era. The disappearance of the Philistines as a distinct group. A frequently debated question arises. Who are the Philistines today? To answer this, it is important to recognize that the Philistines ceased to exist as a distinct cultural or ethnic group around the 5th century BC. Their identity gradually dissolved as they were assimilated into the dominant Semitic cultures of the region, particularly under the influence of Babylonian, Persian, and Hellenistic civilizations. The prophet Zechariah, one of the last biblical figures to mention the Philistines, prophesied that a mixed race would inhabit Ashdod, a clear indication of the cultural blending that characterized Philistine cities during their final centuries. The combination of military defeats, forced deportations, and cultural integration resulted in the complete disappearance of the Philistines as a cohesive people. Biblical and historical accounts confirm that the destruction of their cities and the dispersion of their population marked the end of Philistine nationhood. By the time the Roman Empire redefined the region as Palestine, the Philistines no longer existed as an identifiable ethnic group. The name Palestine, derived from Philistia, was used broadly to designate the region, but it bore no direct ethnic connection to the ancient Philistines. The legacy of the Philistines in history and culture. Despite their extinction as a distinct people, the Philistines left a significant cultural and historical legacy. Their reputation as a technologically advanced warrior society survives in biblical narratives, linguistic remnants, and regional place names. For instance, the name Palestine, which originates from Philistia, is a testament to their enduring influence. Interestingly, while the Greeks initially used the term Philistia, it was during the Roman suppression of Jewish revolts that the region was officially renamed Provincia Palestina. This renaming, likely intended as a form of punishment for the Jewish population, sought to erase Jewish ties to the land by associating it with the Philistines, Israel's historical enemies. By this time, the Philistines as an ethnic group had already disappeared, yet their name remained a tool for political and symbolic purposes. Could there be modern descendants of the Philistines? The question of whether modern descendants of the Philistines exist is complex and intriguing. To date, there is no concrete genetic or ethnographic evidence linking any current population directly to the Philistines. Historical records and archaeological evidence show that the Philistines underwent extensive assimilation during successive periods of domination by the Babylonians, Persians, Hellenistic Greeks, and Romans. Each of these empires contributed to the dilution of Philistine identity, resulting in their complete integration into the broader regional population. Historical records and archaeological evidence show that the Philistines underwent extensive assimilation during successive periods of domination by the Babylonians, Persians, Hellenistic Greeks, and Romans. Each of these empires contributed to the dilution of Philistine identity, resulting in their complete integration into the broader regional population. By the Roman period, the inhabitants of the former Philistine territories were a heterogeneous mix of Semitic, Greek, and other cultural influences. While the name Palestine preserves the memory of the Philistines, there is no direct lineage connecting modern Palestinians or any other group to this ancient people. The Philistines' absorption into dominant cultures, coupled with the lack of self-identification as Philistines after the 5th century BC, supports the conclusion that they no longer exist as a distinct group. Insights from modern DNA studies. Recent DNA analyses of remains found in ancient Philistine cities reveal a fascinating genetic history. Early Philistine populations displayed a strong Aegean genetic influence, consistent with the theory that they originated from southern European groups who migrated through the Mediterranean. Over time, this population intermarried with local Semitic groups, leading to the gradual assimilation of their unique genetic traits. This process underscores the complex cultural and biological integration of the Philistines into the societies of ancient Canaan. However, by the time of later empires, such as the Babylonians and Persians, the Philistines' distinct Aegean ancestry had largely disappeared. This dilution of their genetic and cultural identity was accelerated by centuries of intermarriage, deportation, and political subjugation, leaving no identifiable modern descendants. Misconceptions about modern Palestinians and the Philistines. Some mistakenly associate the modern Palestinians with the ancient Philistines, primarily because of the geographic overlap and the shared name Palestine. However, this connection is historically inaccurate. Modern Palestinians are the result of millennia of cultural blending among Canaanites, Israelites, Egyptians, Assyrians, Babylonians, Greeks, Romans, Arabs, and other groups. Their identity, as understood today, emerged largely during and after the Arab period, shaped by shared linguistic, cultural, and historical experiences. The modern Palestinian identity is a product of a long and complex history, distinct from the ancient Philistines. While the name Palestine keeps the memory of the Philistines alive, it does not imply a direct lineage. The Philistines in popular culture and misunderstandings. The term Philistine has also taken on a derogatory meaning in popular culture, often used to describe someone indifferent to art or culture. This usage stems from biblical accounts that portray the Philistines as uncircumcised idolaters and persistent enemies of Israel. In Christian contexts, the term can also symbolize those opposed to God's people. However, this negative depiction does not do justice to the Philistines' historical achievements. Far from being uncultured, the Philistines were an advanced society with complex religious practices, skilled artisanship, and significant technological developments, particularly in metallurgy and military equipment. Conclusion: reflecting on the Philistines' legacy. The Philistines may no longer exist as a people, but their story continues to capture the imagination of scholars, historians, and the public. Their legacy, preserved in biblical narratives, archaeological findings, and even modern place names, serves as a reminder of the intricate cultural tapestry of the ancient Near East. We invite you to reflect on this fascinating history and share your thoughts in the comments. Are you interested in deepening your understanding of the Bible? Through our online theology courses, you can explore topics like this in depth with accessible, engaging content. Learn more about our video lessons and certification program in the description below. The Philistines, one of the most formidable rivals of ancient Israel, are a group shrouded in both historical and biblical intrigue. They are frequently mentioned in the Old Testament as a constant threat to the Israelites, known for their advanced weaponry, strongholds, and relentless clashes with Israel's greatest leaders, including Samson, Saul, and David. But what happened to this once mighty civilization? And who, if anyone, are their modern descendants? To understand the fate of the Philistines, we must first delve into their origins. The Bible suggests that they were part of the Sea Peoples, a confederation of seafaring tribes that migrated from regions around the Aegean Sea. They settled along the southern coast of Canaan, in cities like Gaza, Ashkelon, Ashdod, Ekron, and Gath, forming a pentapolis that became the heart of Philistine culture. Archaeological findings support their connection to the Aegean, revealing pottery, architectural styles, and burial practices that echo Mycenaean and Minoan traditions. The Philistines' rise to prominence was fueled by their mastery of iron, which gave them a military edge over their bronze-using neighbors. They were known for their chariots, fortified cities, and the iconic giants of Gath, including the infamous Goliath who fell at the hands of young David. Their influence extended beyond the battlefield. They were skilled traders and craftsmen, leaving a cultural impact on the region. Despite their strength, the Philistines faced eventual decline. The Assyrian and Babylonian empires waged campaigns that weakened and dispersed them. By the 6th century BCE, the Philistines as a distinct people had vanished from historical records, absorbed into the larger populations of the ancient Near East. Their cities were destroyed or repurposed, and their cultural identity faded over time. Today, some speculate about potential links between the ancient Philistines and modern populations in the region. However, there is no conclusive evidence tying them directly to any specific group. The term Philistine has often been misused historically and politically, sometimes conflated with the Palestinians, though this connection is not supported by archaeological or historical scholarship. The Philistines were a distinct people with their own unique identity, separate from the indigenous Canaanites and later groups in the area. The story of the Philistines serves as a reminder of how empires rise and fall, leaving traces of their existence in the annals of history and the pages of the Bible. Through archaeology and historical analysis, we continue to uncover pieces of their story, shedding light on one of Israel's most enigmatic adversaries. The Philistines, one of ancient Israel's most enduring and enigmatic foes, occupy a significant place in both biblical narratives and historical inquiry. Their clashes with the Israelites, as chronicled in the Old Testament, reveal a complex and formidable civilization that left an indelible mark on the history of the ancient Near East. But while their story is well known in the context of their rivalry with Israel, the questions of their origins, cultural achievements, and ultimate fate continue to captivate scholars and believers alike. Who were the Philistines, and what became of this influential yet mysterious people? The origins of the Philistines. The origins of the Philistines remain a topic of scholarly debate, with most evidence pointing to their connection to the Sea Peoples, a coalition of maritime groups that swept across the eastern Mediterranean during the Late Bronze Age, circa 1200 BC. These seafaring migrants are believed to have come from regions around the Aegean Sea, including Crete and mainland Greece, based on similarities in pottery styles, burial customs, and architectural techniques. The Bible provides its own clues about their origins. Genesis 10 verse 14 lists them as descendants of Casluhim and Caphtorim, linking them to the region of Caphtor, often identified with Crete. Amos 9 verse 7 also references the Philistines being brought from Caphtor, suggesting a migratory history. This biblical portrayal aligns with archaeological findings that show a blend of Aegean and Canaanite influences in Philistine material culture, hinting at a people who adapted and integrated with their new environment. The Philistine Pentapolis. The Philistines established themselves along the southern coastal plain of Canaan, building 5 major city-states known as the Philistine Pentapolis: Gaza, Ashkelon, Ashdod, Ekron, and Gath. These cities became the centers of Philistine power, culture, and religion. Their strategic coastal locations facilitated trade, making them wealthy and influential players in the region. Philistine society was sophisticated and well-organized. They were skilled in ironworking, which gave them a significant advantage over their bronze-using neighbors. This technological superiority is highlighted in the biblical account of 1 Samuel 13 verses 19 to 22, where the Israelites lacked access to iron weaponry, forcing them to rely on Philistine craftsmen to sharpen their tools. The Philistines' mastery of iron made them formidable warriors and allowed them to dominate the Israelites for significant periods. Cultural and religious practices. The Philistines were not just warriors. They were also patrons of art, trade, and religion. Excavations in Philistine cities have uncovered distinctive pottery styles, often featuring intricate decorations that suggest a blend of Aegean and local Canaanite influences. They were also known for their elaborate burial customs, which included chamber tombs and unique grave goods. Religiously, the Philistines worshipped a pantheon of gods, chief among them being Dagon, a deity associated with grain and fertility. Temples dedicated to Dagon have been unearthed in several Philistine cities, providing insight into their religious practices. Other deities may have included Baal and Astarte, reflecting the syncretism common in the ancient Near East. The Philistines in biblical history. The Bible vividly depicts the Philistines as relentless adversaries of Israel, engaging in numerous conflicts that shaped the destiny of both peoples. Figures like Samson, Saul, and David rose to prominence through their interactions with the Philistines. Samson's dramatic exploits against the Philistines, culminating in his destruction of their temple, symbolize the ongoing struggle between these two nations, Judges 13-16. King Saul's reign was marked by frequent battles with the Philistines, including his tragic death at the Battle of Mount Gilboa, 1 Samuel 31. David's defeat of Goliath, the giant warrior from Gath, remains one of the most iconic moments in biblical history, emphasizing the theme of divine intervention and the triumph of faith over might. The decline and disappearance of the Philistines. Despite their strength, the Philistines were not immune to the pressures of larger empires. The rise of the Assyrian Empire in the 8th and 7th centuries BCE dealt a heavy blow to Philistine independence. Assyrian kings like Tiglath-Pileser III and Sargon II campaigned against the Philistines, reducing their cities to vassal states. Later, the Babylonians under Nebuchadnezzar II completed the process, destroying Philistine cities and dispersing their population. By the time of the Persian Empire, circa 539 BCE, the Philistines had disappeared as a distinct people. Their cities were repopulated by other groups, and their cultural identity was absorbed into the broader populations of the region. The Philistines are not mentioned in historical records after this period, signaling their complete assimilation or eradication. Who are the Philistines today? The question of modern descendants of the Philistines has sparked much speculation. Some have attempted to link the Philistines to contemporary populations in the region, particularly the Palestinians. However, there is no direct historical or genetic evidence to support this connection. The Philistines were a distinct Aegean origin people with unique cultural markers, separate from the indigenous Canaanites and later groups like the Israelites and Palestinians. Modern archaeology continues to uncover evidence of Philistine life, shedding light on their customs, economy, and interactions with neighboring cultures. These discoveries help clarify their place in history and dispel misconceptions about their identity. The legacy of the Philistines. Although the Philistines are long gone, their legacy endures in the biblical narratives that immortalize their conflicts with Israel. They are remembered not just as Israel's rivals, but as a symbol of the challenges faced by God's chosen people. Their story serves as a testament to the rise and fall of civilizations, a reminder of how history is shaped by the interplay of cultures, and an invitation to explore the rich tapestry of the ancient world. Today, the Philistines continue to fascinate historians, theologians, and archaeologists. As we piece together their story, we gain a deeper understanding of the ancient Near East and the enduring narratives of the Bible. The Philistines are not merely a historical footnote. They are a vital part of the story of humanity, offering lessons about resilience, adaptation, and the forces that shape the destinies of nations. Thank you for joining us today on this journey through the fascinating history of the Philistines. From their mysterious arrival in Canaan to their dramatic clashes with Israel's greatest leaders and their ultimate disappearance from history, their story is one of resilience, complexity, and intrigue. They weren't just Israel's enemies. They were a people who left an undeniable mark on the ancient world. What lessons can we learn from the rise and fall of the Philistines? Their story reminds us of the fleeting nature of earthly power and the importance of faith, perseverance, and seeking God's wisdom in all things. As we continue to explore these rich biblical narratives, we see how every detail points back to God's ultimate plan for humanity. If this video inspired you or taught you something new, don't forget to subscribe to Bible Stories for more in-depth explorations of the Bible and its incredible history. Give this video a like to let us know you enjoyed it, and share your thoughts and insights in the comment section. We'd love to hear what stood out to you the most. Finally, share this video with your church group, family, and friends. Together, we can spread the truth of God's Word and inspire others to dive deeper into these powerful stories. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on Bible Stories, where we bring the pages of Scripture to life.